Why, hello there. Today is day 633 of watching an Elden Ring trailer. And how's it going tonight, guys? Excited to do this live. It's been quite a week, and I have a few things off the top of my head that I wanted to just talk about because, man, do we have stuff going on this week. Hello, Isaac. Hello, Alan, Alexandros, Felipe, Adam, YouTube Premium. How's everyone? How's everyone doing tonight? Pretty good. Everyone comfy. I'm certainly comfy. I'm warm. My partner has a space heater. She's been blasting, and I'm wearing a cardigan, so I'm feeling quite toasty, which is nice. All right. So tonight, to get started, I wanted to just reiterate a few things, just because I think it's worth mentioning. And the first thing is I think everyone knows this, or increasingly more people know this, but you know, this leaked internal trailer that came out. This is to just give a quick summary. Like, this was meant for, like, we think, like, shareholders, and this is footage that came from a while ago that Bamco put together, and this footage is not meant to have ever seen the public eye. And I have to admit, I've been a little torn about having it up and posting up the trailer, especially because the version I put up that I upscaled and did some stuff with is being watched by quite a few people, and I've seen a little surge of followers. So if you came because of that, welcome. But it's tough because if there's Elden Ring information, I have to talk about it. Just because it's been so long, and finally we have something new. But I do want to make it very clear this was never meant to see the light of day, and we can't even really judge it from the perspective of a normal trailer where you would look at it and you would think, well, Bamco is trying to tell me something. They're trying to market to a consumer. They're trying to put it in its best light. Like, it may sound, I posted up the trailer, but I am at the same time kind of bummed it came out. It's hard. I can't not talk about it. And I think it's a gold mine for someone like myself and a lot of you guys who are just really interested in the development process, because this does give us insight into a development process that we don't get to see very often. And, it's tough. It's tough, but I really want to make clear, like, if I have a trailer that's come out, and luckily I've been in a position where I've seen some articles linking the version that I uploaded, and they've been able to make it clear because of the comments I pinned and everything that this is not meant for public consumption. And if I can do anything, I really want to push. This is interesting from, like, someone who's interested in game development. This is interesting from someone who wants to see the process a little bit. This is something that could have come out after release and still been interesting. It's out now. We haven't had information, and we're all hungry for it. But I just want to make that really clear. Like, this isn't trying to sell anyone on anything. And that rolls into the second point that I sort of wanted to just mention to people, is just that, it's been a pretty positive feedback, but obviously there's a large contingent of people who are saying, like, this looks like Dark Souls 4, or, oh, this is Dark Souls 3 reskin. Some people don't even believe this is real footage and that it's like a mod for Dark Souls 3, which, if it is, kudos. That would be amazing. But, so, sort of show of hands, feel free to say, like, who here sort of thinks that this looks like Dark Souls 4? They're a little bit not necessarily, it's not even saying you're underwhelmed or you're excited. Like, who thinks, okay, this is Dark Souls 4 just from what we've seen? Yeah. And I don't hold it against anybody. And I don't fully disagree. Yeah. Goonstock says it looks like Dark Souls 2, which is an interesting point, and one that when I was talking with my friend Nick or Strenuous Orb, um, I'm not sure of the context. I kind of forget what we talk about sometimes. I do get some Dark Souls 2 vibes, and I think maybe the way we talked about it may have implied a shot against Dark Souls 2. It's not a shot against Dark Souls 2. I think what people are picking up on is the colors, and that makes a lot of sense. But I do want to say, like, you know, people who say Dark Souls 4, as I mentioned, this wasn't meant to see like the light of day, and this was for shareholders, and this is potentially old footage, and that's from just, it's very old, and everything here could change. And so this is something where we're not even looking at something that was meant to be seen. So therefore it could all change. This was for investors putting money into a project, getting them hyped up. And yeah, Alan G, in what way did I get Dark Souls 2 vibe? That's just the brighter colors. But even there, I think it's a bit of a reductive comparison. But I'm not going to try to sway anyone. But I think that saying that it looks like Dark Souls 4 is true in one take. But I also don't think we're putting it in the best light. And I do want to make a case for why I don't think looking at this, we should immediately say, looks like Dark Souls 4. And so I'm gonna sort of do a skip through the trailer version, and we'll at the end we'll do a trailer watch that's like a legit one, but we're gonna do a little bit of a on the fly live analysis. And I just want to point out things. One here is that, James King. Did you say Dark Souls 2 director is co-directing this? That is my theory. And it's important to note that Dark Souls 2, the director, is also the co-director on Dark Souls 3. So that would be that's Yui Tanimura. And so I do think that's likely just because of their history with Bandai Namco and working on the Souls games. But they had the most prominent influence in the DLC for Dark Souls 2 and then pulling Dark Souls 2 together. And and Mystic Referee, hey Mystic Referee, I just wanted to point out, he says, I think people are underestimating how wildly different this is from every other Souls game. The horizon, the vista expanding horizontally is a huge change from Souls level design. And that is the first thing I wanted to bring up here in this first shot. Like, you would be hard pressed to find a vista that looks like this. I mean, maybe you'd see this in Shadow of the Colossus, looking at this bridge. Extremely Shadow of the Colossus vibes there. But that's the first thing, is just the size of the vistas are something that is obviously different. That makes just the gameplay and how it's hard to see maybe from what we've seen. But let's get into it just a little bit. Obviously, that we're seeing some trailers. So I want to pause right here on this dragon and just bring up something. You see a dragon fight, and that does remind you of Dark Souls. But I do want to say, how often have you been riding on your horse through an open field and a dragon drops out of the sky and attacks you? That doesn't happen. Boss fights in these games are very much contained in a space. And that is hugely different. Like, as far as we can tell, this isn't an arena. This is an open space. And I think that is a huge difference. You could maybe run away from this dragon. You could encounter this dragon when you're not planning to encounter the dragon. This can be something that just happens and shows up. So, the dragon design, like, and this is how I've been viewing these leaks, and that's what I want to push as important. Like, I'm not really looking at the graphics because it's so hard to filter through this. I'm looking at the wireframe. I do think that the lighting is pretty nice. This is a nice sunset thing, sort of Majula vibes. Kyle Knight says Sekiro had open spaces, which is true. And I think that's important to say, like, that was in a limited fashion, but it was pretty different. And now you could move around on a grappling hook, but Elden Ring is going to have a horse, and you're going to be in an open field to a much greater degree than you would find in Sekiro. And that's going to make a huge impact on the gameplay. So let's continue, and I can just bring up some other points. These dudes, which, first of all, these guys are one of the coolest designs I've seen in the series, period. And here, let me pop back to them just for reference. So these bros, first of all, they're like harpooned through their open chest and stomach cavity. They're like these green men, these like tree looking things. Like, it's a great design. And I love this. But think about this, and this is how I want to stress. I think people are looking a lot at the gameplay that we've seen, which is very Dark Souls, but we have to think about the context. These gigantic walk-in tree monster dudes are pulling this cart around. And that means who knows how far they're pulling this cart around. This could also, like the dragon, it's all about context. You're riding around and you see this just showing up. These giant guys with this retinue of soldiers, some on horseback, and you just stumble across them while you're riding around in the open world. That's amazing. That's way different than anything Dark Souls provided. So you might be doing Dark Souls-like combat, even though I would argue we have hardly seen the systems. This was not meant to showcase the systems. This was to get investors hyped to put money in. And you have horse combat, which is something that we've seen just the briefest spark of. And I think I don't even want to say criticism, because this wasn't meant to sell us on anything. But there isn't much horse riding and horse combat to see. So it's, so I just want to bring that up. So its context is so important with these visuals that we're seeing here. And so here, this is a huge shot. Like, there is so much space here. The scale, how tiny the dude is near the neck there. Now, unless this was a crazy, play on eyes, and this is like a normal sized head really close to the camera, I'm assuming, and it seems much likely, they're trying to show off scale here. And you have this giant, Titan's head, and you have this huge tree in the background, and it's just different to me. And it's a great vista, and the fact that you're going to be riding around and inhabiting this feels different to me. Just the sense of scale is massive. And so I do want to mention here, as a pause, you could tell some of these models are, and Alexandra says the tree is a bit of an eyesore, to be honest. This is a crappy video taken of year-plus old footage. So I think that's a real, wait and see. I don't want to shoot down people's criticisms, but it's also hard to criticize because we weren't supposed to see this. But we can only imagine it's going to get better. And I think as you look through these clips, if anyone hasn't noticed, keep an eye on, because you get to the underground sort of B-roll footage, and then you get to the final boss fight teaser at the end. And I think each time it looks increasingly good, which means I think this is even taken from a variety of places. And if that final Omnioji boss fight thing is the most recent, it looks quite a bit better than what we're seeing here. Not only is the video captured quite a bit better, but there's more details. But for now, we have this, you could tell this face it's not quite there yet. This wasn't meant to be a final product. This is very much a work in progress. And as for anyone who's not aware, I do Elden Ring so far videos, if you've been used to the daily trailer watches, but I will go in depth on stuff and really pick apart things. And the first thing I'm working on right now is a story and world video. And this big cauldron, as the Elden Ring podcast mentions, it's a cool, we see this in another shot in the distance as well. It's a cool thing. Again, you're seeing all these different shots, different times of day. Mechanically, it sounds like there will be differences too. With this day-night cycle, it's important to think about why you are in, you're in this place and it's not static like Dark Souls. It's going to change time of day. And from what we've heard from Omnipotent and others, you've got so much going on where new enemies could show up. Like that's different. It's going to be a thing where you don't, in some ways you have more control than ever because you can approach situations tactically from many different angles. And in another sense, you have less control because you don't have the same static sort of chessboard layout of the Souls game moving through these corridors. You have this living, breathing world where things are happening around you. And yeah, I see a few people, Isaac and Alexandros, commenting that the that mage armor, that's some real nice fashion. That is, I wonder if I can bring it up. Little shot here, because where is this? Like, look at that. Ooh. Like, and that's another thing I want to bring up is just it's a little bit subtle, but like this sort of color, especially the saturation of this blue and how ornamental this mage's armor is, like that is a bit of a different aesthetic than we've seen with Dark Souls. This game is certainly like Sekiro, bit of the Dark Souls 2 where it's really pushing that. It's really pushing some color. It's a little bit more playful. It's that fantasy is coming through a bit more. Alan G asked, what's the biggest thing that I hope to see in Elden Ring? That's a tough one. I would really like to, I mean, I want to see those giant dudes. I know that's lame because it's literally something we've already seen, but I can't wait to crest a hill and see those giant dudes pulling a cart and go down there and harass them. Like, that's something I've been thinking about. So, that's something that design just looks so good. If there was something sort of on a wish list, I do hope that they find a way to provide some way of making upgrade paths interesting or give you good ways to play with your weapons and to just a little bit more depth to build variety, I think would be really something that I would like to see. Like if that's some sort of skills or just another layer on top of what we're used to with the RPG, just to really ramp up those RPGs. I want this to be a little bit more RPG heavy, which it seems like it might be. But let's keep pulling through so I can make my little argument just because. Yeah. And I just want to throw out here, like, Dark Souls doesn't have a stealth system. Sekiro is what introduced a real, like, sort of stealth system. And we can see that is likely in here, even if it's a bit pared down. It seems like that could play into RPG mechanics. And, I don't want to, if someone feels like this looks like Dark Souls 4, fine. But I think it's like, this is pulling from Sekiro. Now you've got this whole system that we're familiar with, but in RPG context. So like, Brixie says there was one cut from Dark Souls 3. So this is, again, Miyazaki saying things they couldn't do in Dark Souls. So they're keeping that core, but I think it's not reductive, but I just think maybe, people see the trailer. There's so much to pull in, and I've watched this a million times now. So I'm starting to just notice these things, and I just want to highlight these things just to sort of provide that counterpoint for people who might be feeling a little disappointed that I think there's more there than what we've seen. And even this is as something that's not intended to really sell us, because I've heard from Omnipotent and others that From Software is concerned about the Dark Souls 4 comment because it's a fantasy action RPG and they do want it to have its own identity. And this is old footage from them still working on it. And I think you already get some really nice indications that this isn't going to be just Dark Souls 4. Let's keep moving.
Ring. I suppose you can't be talked into turning back.
This skeleton looks terrible, but that's fine. The skeleton will look better. Backstab looks awesome. We'll watch this without me interrupting later. This guy's like a scorpion tail. He also seems to summon like a hammer. It's a small thing just because this dude. I love this design here. Yeah, flails. The Elden Ring podcast mentions flails. And Marco Santa Maria asks, I'm really curious to see how the open world is, how open the world is, how it operates. That's a huge question, and I think it's something we can't discount yet. We don't have the answer to, because from an official capacity, they haven't revealed anything new yet. So it's important. And I just wanted to throw out here because I love the arm dude from the announcement trailer. He's in the background. You can see him creeping in on the video. This, I don't know if it's him or if it's someone like him or what's going on, but so this so this guy seemingly takes arms and he like appends them onto himself and then just keeps adding them to the end of his arms to give him this crazy jointed thing. And it's awesome. And you can see it in high quality behind for the announcement trailer with all those arms coming through. And again, I don't know if this is him, but this is like someone who's similar, maybe a similar covenant, I don't know what, a similar group of people who like to attach arms to them all crazy like, which would be pretty wild if there's a whole group of these people. But his little screech here, I just love the little screech. He's so cowardly. I'm so curious about what all this means. And for all I know, he's an NPC that you're harassing and you're not even supposed to attack him. And they just filmed this for the trailer just to show off a cool enemy design, just to hype up those shareholders. But yeah, he does look like, who mentioned that there? The Elden Ring podcast, arms covered by a carpet. Yeah. Yeah, I think it's like a cloak thrown over him, but at this quality, it's like, who even knows? And it's interesting to note, these sort of like almost eye symbols on the shield he's holding up. You can see the eye symbol on the glove of one of the player characters in the little montage. So that seems to be a symbol of a group, potentially. So we get the horse here. Again, this is the cauldron. And just look how vast this landscape is here. Like, it just, we're not even seeing all of that. So, again, this isn't something we've really seen in Dark Souls. And there's so many things in the vista. There's a cauldron in the distance. Who even knows what that structure is off to the left? Big tree harassing that caravan. Okay. And another thing is just, I think this has been brought up by Mordecai. I think I brought it up myself. This is just another way, obviously it says confidential everywhere. From the creators of Dark Souls, Bloodborne, and Sekiro, they don't mention other publishers when they're showing stuff off. And even to the point where if you notice and you look back through like Miyazaki's interviews, like when he's talking about like Bloodborne, he talks mostly about Demon Souls. And when he's talking about like Sekiro, he's mentioning a mix, but he tries to bring up Tenchu. He brings up things that are related to the publisher they're working with. Bamco, Dark Souls. And that's because he's trying to support the publisher, and these trailers aren't going to say this. This was meant for a group to get them hyped up. So, and then also I want to mention, as a few people are saying, like, it's been a joke that's like a Harry Potter landscape, but like the colors, man, like this moon, the beautiful deep blue to black sky, like that we've never seen something that sort of saturated. And of course you have to sort of take it with a grain of salt because it's through the filters and stuff, but also like the size of the castle in the background here and everything leading up to it, it's got a massive sense of scale. It's very exciting to me. So then we get this, and I just want to point out here, I feel like you can tell this is newer footage than that previous clip. And if Bamco is working with this is potentially a debug build that they received or something else, which means this is old footage by the time they get it, because this is for something internal. So if that other footage looks older, that might be really old footage. And this is looking newer and, in my opinion, quite a bit better already. And just think, another thing I want to mention is like, this is underground. Like, so you've seen glimpses of what they have above the world. Now look at what they have underneath the world. Like, holy crap, like how big is this game? How big is Elden Ring? Because from my understanding, I had heard rumors that there would be an underground, maybe like a fast travel system or a way to more easily get from point A to point B. And like, this isn't some simple walking around this isn't a tunnel that you're just using to get around. Like this is cavernous. This is big stuff. So that's exciting. Who knows what you're going to be doing down here, but some cool things. And I do mention, I saw a few people mention that it could be like in a valley or something, and this looks like it could possibly be at the bottom of a ravine, but it's still the verticality we're talking about here with all this lower or underground stuff, and it's all grouped together and all appears to be underground. So that's why I'm thinking this is a whole different thing. So I don't think they'll include a swimming mechanic, LNG, just because there can be so many different weights and armors that I think it seems to me that Miyazaki's really saying like we're trying to make this flexible for different people. I don't know if maybe you could, given the weight of something. I have no clue, but I don't think they'd build a whole mechanic just to be used in like light situational things. I think the jump is already doing quite a bit for them, but yeah, who knows? Someone's asked, what about boats? Who knows? Like, I have no clue. I don't think there's a boat mechanic, but there's quite a bit of water going on. So, and just like the scale, once again, like this is like if this is supposed to be something where you can connect between places, like this is a big ass cavern. Like this is pretty big. I had heard rumors about underground. And I was expecting it to be more like tiny little like tunnels to sort of help get you around. But this is looking big. This is a whole place where they could fit some really terrible enemies and some really great secrets. Obviously, you can't have a Souls thing without that door opening animation. And this is just some stock stuff there of just jumping around, but like let's go back to that jump. Like I just want to throw out there like this makes a big difference for the level design. I think it's sort of necessary to just get around an open world. But yeah, look at that's a nice hop. And then so this is what looks to me to be the most developed, and this seems to be like the beginning of maybe like a boss cutscene with this this Omioji person. And I think it looks quite a bit better than other stuff. It looks developed, especially you got those screen space reflections. Like it's really, really interesting. And Phallus McPherson, sorry, says, "Oh no, hidden walls in open world. Have to go around smacking everything." And yeah, could you imagine illusory walls in an open world game means, oh boy, yeah, smacking everything for days. Goonsuck says, those are those eyes again. That's a really good point. That is, we've seen what appear to be like eyes throughout stuff. And Mystic Referee says, try playing Kingsfield games. Yes, try playing Kingsfield games. That is solid advice. I am currently playing Kingsfield 4. It is amazing. From Software has been doing awesome stuff for a long time. And Kingsfield is more fantasy than Dark Souls. And I think that is very interesting to see because, that skeleton, well, it's sort of a joke, but that skeleton looks like it came straight from Kingsfield 4 that we saw at the beginning. But, Peter Souls asks, late to the stream, did talk about the relation to stealth and backstabs yet? I did mention that it looks like they have essentially like a Sekiro system, and Omnipotent has mentioned that on the Reset Era, he's recently rejoined Reset Era, and he's been talking. He mentioned that, to his understanding, there's a very Sekiro-esque sort of indicator stealth system where you can sort of detect, see the detection level on some enemies, and then you can sneak around and like get backstabs. So, I don't know that I'm thinking that'll play into RPG elements that might give a whole new reason to do certain builds. It'll be really interesting to see. And let's get there. And the other, so Adara says, saw the trail. I'm not really seeing the dedicated jump button. So I do think it looks like they jump from essentially a walking thing, but I've also just straight up heard there's a jump button. So that may change, but that sort of corroborates things I've heard that say there's a jump button, and then I basically also heard they're utilizing the Sekiro stealth. So yeah, and let's watch this because I think this looks more developed than anything else, and like just the screen space reflections and the quality here. Also, like this like Omnioji design, like this is another thing that just speaks toward like Souls at it always had like some Eastern flair. You'd have like a characters like from the East or something, you know, and they were clearly supposed to be sort of like Asian, and this, but thinking of having characters like this in this world, and that just speaks to the size and the potential variety we're getting at, which is another thing that I would say isn't Dark Souls 4 territory. Like they're playing with different aesthetics. I've mentioned some of the architecture you see. You see Gothic architecture. You see Romanesque architecture. You see what seems to me to be sort of like Spanish architecture with the one castle. Sort of it's a sort of a mix of like Spanish, like Islamic, like very much like if anyone played Blasphemous, like that sort of region of architecture where it's got both Islamic and Christian influences in the region. So it's very much a very unique blend. And just seeing all that and then seeing this and thinking there could be even more Eastern influences that come in and just add variety to the world. And that's exciting. That's not something Dark Souls really played around with too much. I mean, you had a little bit with like the Bed of Chaos and stuff, but like everything is on a much bigger scale here. And also, unfortunately, the Bed of Chaos was generally sort of a weak area. So this is just the variety is going to be something I think is going to be huge. Oh, and I did see someone mention, and I just don't want to interrupt the video, is someone asked who Omnipotent is. He's a friend of mine, but also he on Reset Era he's an insider, and he has connections with From Software, and he's written tons of posts, and in the early days of Elden Ring, he basically got us through 2020 with his posts talking about the game. I highly recommend checking them out and looking at what we've seen now, because it is interesting to see that Omni was right. That's a shout out for Omni there. He'll appreciate that, because he's been very excited for people to sort of see some of the stuff he's been talking about, and I know he's having a good time on Era now, getting to talk to people, having a bit more context, even though I know he's also a bit bummed that From couldn't do their huge reveal in the way that they planned, but the conversation's been good. So let's see. Mystic Referee says it's a collision of kingdoms at the Riftlands, and they can go crazy, right? Yeah, like the Riftlands gives me very much like a Dark Souls 3 convergence sort of thing. And, obviously the Sea of Fog gives me a Demon Souls feel. Crossing the Ocean makes me think of Kingsfield and Eternal Ring. And that isn't to say From's reusing things. Those are just all themes they like returning to. This is very much their like internal design tropes. And I think that they're going to be able to really go hard on it. So Dark Tower too. Yeah, 100%. It's a good point. I've actually was making a little point of that in the video I'm working on right now, is Dark Tower with the Riftlands, and just the idea that the closer you get to the Dark Tower in that series, the more weird the landscape gets. And it's this blend of lands and plains, and it gets really weird. And I'm getting some Dark Tower vibes from this is seemingly where the Elden Ring comes from, is shattered, and maybe the pieces of it reside, I don't know, but in these Riftlands could totally be a result of the shattering of the ring, and the shattering of the ring, and to where it's gone, maybe the pieces of the shattered ring are sort of converging, sort of Lothric style, on this world. And they're really playing at that idea of pulling landscape and messing with reality in a bigger way than they ever have before. So sky's the limit right now, guys. And that's why I'm saying, like, when people say Dark Souls 4, I just think there's more than that. So hopefully I'm making a decent argument. And if not, it's cool. And when we see the official trailer, that's when they're going to get to pitch it to us. Right now, though, I'm giving them some leeway because this is exciting stuff for me, and it was never meant to be seen by us. All right. So this is just a super cool scene. And this will be the end of it, and then we'll watch the whole thing through without me blabbering every 2 seconds. But ooh, yeah, look at that screen space reflection, just throwing that right up at you. Like that's totally the beginning of a boss fight, and also like the hue of this moon. Anybody feeling that moonlight greatsword? like, I think this may be a little bit of a bummer to see because man, if you don't get something from here. Also, you have that golden tree that kind of looks like, it has a lot to do with the sun and it's lighting up stuff. And now you have this moon, you have the sun and the moon imagery. Like that's all super From Software, but also super exciting because, they're playing with these themes and who knows what these things represent. But, oh man, like, yeah, I do very much feel like this is the beginning of a boss fight, like the cutscene that plays right before shit goes crazy. So... yeah. Yeah, so I will say the Elden Ring podcast brings up predictions for Bandai Namco next. I am still Team April. I've stood there just because I want this game to come out this year. Who knows? COVID is doing crazy stuff to the world and has been a huge problem for Japan. They're not set up for work from home. It has been huge, and you've been seeing Japanese developers who churn games out yearly having to skip this year again. So who knows, but I'm still Team April because I want the game to come out this year. And I think for marketing, if they don't show it in April, I don't think it's coming out this year. And I want it to come out this year, so I'm Team April. But I don't think that Bandai Namco is going to change their marketing schedule because of this leak. I think they're going to keep doing what they're doing because there's lots of people that can be involved in these things and they have to get things ready. They're working toward a deadline. And even though I'm sure this is inconvenient and annoying, and I think it's a bummer that it might take a little steam out of their sales, even though for me it's just hyping me up. I don't think, it would be nice to get that reveal, but I don't think it's lessened my excitement at all. It's probably done the opposite. But I think they'll continue to do it and show off the game soon and when they planned to originally. I don't think they're accelerating anything. So, yeah, I'm still Team April, and I don't have any inside information. I just know that April feel like you take April, you add like 6 to 8 months. That's about as close to the coming out this year as we can get. So like, that's why I'm Team April. It's just because like another thing is if they do like say they do a March release or an April release and it's a spring 2022 title and that's what they land on, like that's just a bit of a that's a long time still. Like I kind of want them to just let the silence be the silence until it's time to reveal, and then they just hit the ground running and they keep the hype up. They get us all to pre-order it. Not that there was any question of me pre-ordering it. And then maybe a network test. And they just keep the information. They don't have any dead space. A year of marketing, they're either going to show off more than I'd want them to show, or there will be more silence. And I'd rather just have them get it there. And Alan G mentioned Cyberpunk. I think Cyberpunk has made us all very scared about large, ambitious games coming out. And Elden Ring is undoubtedly a large, ambitious game for From Software. And I'm not going to let what happened with CD Projekt Red make me nervous about From Software's, output, because, I had more faith in CD Projekt Red too before Cyberpunk sort of did what it did, but that doesn't mean anything for From Software. They've kept quiet. Cyberpunk never kept quiet. And I think they're doing what they can do, and they don't seem to fall under that pressure where they just have to push it out. And I don't get that feeling from Miyazaki or the management there that they're going to want to release. Like they do work on some tight schedules. They're like they've released crazy numbers of games in the past in a single year. They had like 4 PS2 launch titles. So I just wouldn't let the fear surrounding something like Cyberpunk bleed into Elden Ring because they've kept quiet. And if there were issues, they've kept quiet. Whereas Cyberpunk tried pretending they weren't having issues and they very much were having issues. So I just think I'm giving FromSoft the benefit of the doubt and seeing this old shareholder internal footage, don't let that make you nervous because this was not meant to see the light of day and it could be a year or more old. So like so if this footage could be like a year or more old, that other stuff could be wicked old. Like it this seems like 3 different sources, so I just wouldn't worry. So I think with this, let's watch this trailer in its entirety without me interrupting it, and let's get hyped because I'm hyped. Day 633, and I'm so excited to have something new to watch. Even though I will say, has anyone else still been watching the announcement trailer daily? I still have. I'm broken. I'm a shell of a man. I admit that, but I'm still watching. I love the music, and the music in here is great, but then it cuts to the weird, quiet B-roll footage, and it's just like, oh, please, more of the music, please. So, all right, let's go. Stamello.
Oh, you tragic thing. You've crossed the sea of fog all the way to the Riftlands. Well, this is the very edge of the map. Imagine what drives you to seek the Elden Ring. I suppose you can't be talked into turning back. Very well, then.
It's good music, though. It's very cinematic. Oof, I love it. Oh. Hurts. Someday we'll have a real trailer, guys. A super cool cutscene. The colors too. I almost wouldn't believe this was actually a FromSoft thing if it wasn't for the cloth physics. Boom. There we go. There it is. Day 633. And we have a new trailer. Yeah. Oh, you tragic thing. Oh. It is a tragedy that this came out on the one hand, but on the other hand, I am very excited. This is exceeding my expectations so far. And Mystic Referee says, I think the narrator is Pate's voice actor from Dark Souls 2, Peter Serafinowicz. I think that is very likely. He already has worked for them before. He's a Souls fan. I think his voice does sound similar. I've also heard Peter Dinklage, someone who voiced, I think, the King in Final Fantasy 15 or something. There's a few people who sound similar. Who knows? It's pretty good, though. I think it's meant to be someone different from the announcement trailer, which is interesting, but who knows? They're playing around, so who knows? But, yeah, so, yeah, this is... I hope that this has helped. Sorry, there's tons of questions I've missed. I was rambling a lot, but I think it's important, and especially as someone who's put up this trailer and had people see it, I just wanted to really provide my perspective and just why I think this is exciting and why I'm also taking a lot of this with a grain of salt and how much this stuff could change. I'm just not being super critical right now because we're seeing development footage, and that's cool. But I want to view it as development footage. This is all very much in process. I'm looking at it in the wireframe, the conceptual, taking things like, oh, what direction are they going with some colors? What direction are they going with the scale of the world? And that stuff is very encouraging. Seeing stuff like torches and, going into dark places with your torch, that seems very cool. That's another, I think I forgot it earlier, like Dark Souls 2 sort of feel. Like maybe they're getting to do, Tanamura's getting to really do the torch thing that they tried to do. So, um, yeah, I've heard that they said it's the same voice actor as Patches. I listened to it and I don't hear it. Could be wrong. Um, but yeah, and I will talk about the Chinese content creator did talk a little more. I don't think when they say things like the content of it is super surprising or have a ton of takeaways, but that is something I'll address more at some point. But yeah, so I hope y'all enjoyed watching this trailer and just getting expectations in the right place and just getting excited to see the full thing. I'm very excited. I honestly think for some in progress stuff, this is looking pretty awesome. So yeah, but thanks for tuning in, everyone. I love seeing everyone show up. And if you enjoyed this, keep watching. I'm going to keep watching the trailers, and I'll be releasing Elden Ring so far videos covering this in massive detail. So there's a lot of exciting stuff. So, please stay tuned. Do those annoying notification things just because I have some good stuff coming out. And then, of course, I think by the time all my stuff comes out, we'll get hit by an actual trailer. So, yeah, I hope everyone has a good night, good morning, whatever time it is for you. I appreciate all the support, and I'll see y'all tomorrow.